Really?
So, do you see anyone else?
No.
Cool.
I just assumed there was another class that was going on instead of you guys.
I mean, there usually is.
Yeah.
But it's just like, usually there's like other people sitting out there.
Yeah, he's out there smoking or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We were outside. We're like, wait, what?
Yes.
So
Professor?
April finally
Right? Wasn't that the biggest scam that went on for like 5 weeks or something? Like, oh, it's any day now. Come and look at the Toys R Us logo.
Had you seen it? Yeah. I mean, I didn't see it. But,
I know you can vote on the name of the giraffe.
did I what?
Isn't there some voting on it? Like you can vote for the what they're going to name the giraffe?
I didn't know that.
Hopefully Giraffe McGiraffe faces.
I think they already named it, right?
Really? I thought there was just, maybe they did that already. I don't know. That story played with my emotions for too long, so I just like, whatever, I don't hear about the giraffe.
maybe
Matt,
she
you had a
was
question.
having performance
Never
anxiety.
mind. Steve answered it for me.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
And she was like, oh.
You're welcome. Thank you, Steve.
She can't just pop it out on command like that.
Hi. Anybody watching the new season of Mystery Science Theater 3000? You guys probably weren't even born when that original show aired. It's these robots and this dude that watched terrible movies and they kind of crack jokes throughout the whole thing. Anyway, there's a reboot now on Netflix.
So thank you.
I finally watched the first movie, which is Reptilicus, which is this terrible monster movie.
Fresh jersey.
Sweater.
Sweater.
Yes. The hockey, what in other sports is called a jersey, is in hockey called a sweater. But thank you. Now that I've insulted you, I will accept your compliment. You know how I love the vocab. Yeah, I haven't been wearing it so far, and they've lost every game, so maybe this is the missing part. Like, I just needed to be wearing my Kane sweater, and they'll start winning. But tonight is do or die. Update failed. Wasn't that nice? Okay. So I am not going to teach a very long class today. I probably won't teach a very long class Wednesday, or next Monday, or the following Wednesday. We just have to wrap things up and get done. So your project 2 is due tonight at midnight. I've received 1 so far. You're supposed to turn in your Project 3 testing script, site plan, and AV release on Wednesday. I might move that to Friday, because I'm probably honestly not going to get to grading your projects until probably Wednesday or Thursday. So I'll probably just hold off. So watch for a Basecamp update on that. Nobody's going to worry about that through at least 11:59 p.m. tonight, I know. All right. So today I want to talk just a little bit about usability testing and some fundamentals of methods and tie it very closely to your project so that you know what you're doing, right? Has everybody read the chapter, certainly chapter 9 from the Stephen Krug book? Yes, of course, we've read it very carefully. We weren't at all completely distracted by the project that we're doing for you. Fair enough. All right, so what are you testing in a very general sense when you're testing something for usability? What are you testing? Or who? Okay, and what is it in that sentence? Yeah, your website, your interface, your app. That's the really crucial thing. A good 40% of a successful usability test is handling your people who've agreed to test your product for you, okay? People get in a very particular mindset. Most people want to please other people, right? So especially if you're recruiting from amongst your friends and colleagues across IIT, they're going to want to tell you how great your site is. So one of the first things that you need to do, and you should include something like this in your script, is tell them that you know your project has problems, okay? And that you need them to help you to improve it, okay? If they know that you're looking for trouble, then they're not going to be complimenting you at every turn about how great it is and be like, oh, I guess our thing is great because everybody said it's great. You want to set them up to give you the kind of feedback where you're going to get something that you can actually get help on, all right? Now, you will also sometimes recruit a nervous Nelly type who's freaking out because they think that their ability to use your site or your app or your interface or whatever it is some kind of judgment about how good they are, right? Usually when somebody observes you doing something for some kind of test, you're the one who's being tested, right? If it's an exam for class or something like that. So you also want to make it clear through everything that you do, how you talk to them, how you arrange yourself in a room, right? You're supposed to come up with a site plan, which means you need to have a site to do some testing in, okay? The friendlier environment you can find for this, probably the better. Right? There are rooms over at MTCC, there's group study suites over in the library, things like that. Students have used those before. But really the only thing that you need is a chair, right? Possibly a tabletop if somebody's testing a desktop device. And it's usually helpful for you to sit down as well. Don't stand there with a clipboard over the back of them. Nobody wants to hover or have someone hovering over their shoulder while they're trying to test. Right? And I've also asked you, see, look, this is my big prop for today, to video record your test users. This is for a couple of different reasons. One, that's a good practice when you have a distributed team. So if all of you aren't in the room, which is probably a good idea, right? If you've got 3 or 4 people in your group, like that's going to up the tension and the pressure on the poor test subject. Like there's 4 people there. So have one of you, maybe 2, in the room at a time. And of course, if you've got people in your group who are online students who can't get to campus for whatever reason, this allows them to witness the test later on. Krug in his book talks about like doing a live simulcast to some conference room down the hall or something. We're not going to be that sophisticated. So I love this little thing. I got this on Amazon. I forget what this is. Gorilla Pods, maybe? I don't know. You can buy these things, and this is one of the most useful pieces of plastic I own in my life because you can set it up like a tripod, or if you've got like a light post or something, right? I use my phone to scan documents and things like that, so I can wrap this thing around it, and then I can just snap my documents and things. I'm going to take this off here because I will walk out of this room. I'm in a habit of losing and leaving things already today, right? So do make sure that you have something. It doesn't have to be a tripod. Make something out of paper clips or document binders or something if you need to. But have something so that you can have a nice stationary camera, okay, that is behind. Vinny, will you come sit here? Do you mind being on film? Okay, actually, yeah, well, you could. I'll just put my laptop in front of you. So we're going to pretend that Vinny here is the test subject, okay, right? So, and ideally, he's going to be working with his own laptop, right? So where do we want to position the camera relative to Vinny? Yeah, behind you, right? For a couple of different reasons. We don't want him to have to worry about what's happening, but we also want to see what he's actually doing, right? And Krug talks about using screen capture software. That's fine, but sometimes it can be really useful to have a behind the shoulder, and of course this is it's not really close. Like I would ideally want something, so I'm right here. So you're mostly framing them, but you're getting just enough of the person that you can see their body language and you can hear them, right? Because we don't want to just silently have people test something. We want to have them talk aloud as they're doing it so that they can say, oh, I think I should click here, whatever. All right? You may return to your seat. Thank you so much for your help. Okay? All right. And of course, this is even more important if we're testing devices. And if you're testing somebody on a mobile device, maybe don't have them seated at a desk, right? Where is somebody most likely going to use a mobile device? I mean, they might if they're in class at a desk. Well, probably don't go to their bedroom, even if that's where they tend to use those. But a comfy chair, something like that. And again, something that you can record on the background and ask them. Now, what do you actually have the person do? What's that? What they think they should? Well, you could do that. What you should have as part of your script is a broken down set of tasks, right? The idea behind the script is not just so you can stand there and robotically read lines, but if you have different members of your group doing the test at different points, you want to make sure that every single one of your test users has the same exact uniform experience, right? So if we have them log in, that's the first one. If we have them do a password recovery, right, that might be the second one. And then we have them, find X that you want them, right, find where to add or drop a class, or find where to pay your tuition bill, and then break it down. So you want to have it very specific. And again, the point of Project 2 was to really design an interface based on tasks, right? That was your controlling thing, not how pretty it is or how nice it is, but what are the steps that it takes to add or drop a class, and then building an interface that supports those particular tasks. Because when you go to write your report, you want to say, oh, people struggled with this aspect of the login, or this part of the password recovery, or whatever it is that you're doing. So this is not only a script for your test users, but it's also going to help you organize your report later. So you can say, everything was fine with this, or there were a lot of problems with that, so that you know what you are testing. Okay? So the script is really meant to help make sure you get uniform tests from all your subjects. Questions so far? Okay. Now, if you've done something terrible, and it's entirely possible that you have, and the person gets stuck, do you help them or not? Okay, Zach is saying no. Why are you saying no, Zach?
You want to see where they try to go. If you have failed and they do not get to where they need to go, you want to see what attempts they make, what human responses they give you to try to get to where they're supposed to be.
Right, absolutely. So Zach is saying, no, you don't want to help them. Because again, we want the test to be as much like an individual person working on their own as possible. Now, there's different fictions. Most people don't sit there and narrate, unless it's like your Aunt Martha or something, don't narrate what they're doing when they're working on a site. We want to ask them to narrate, but we don't want to jump in and start assisting them because, like Zach says, it's more interesting, one, to see where they do go and how they do try to solve their own problems. But the second is to make sure that you're really testing the interface and not just what it is to have a human assistant there. Now, if you find that in your list of tasks, people get stuck at step 2 or something like that, then you can guide them on to begin the next part of the task. Okay, that's perfectly acceptable. Don't just end the test because they can't figure something out and kick them out and make them feel bad. Okay, help them get on to the next thing, but don't try to solve their problems for them. Now, when you're testing people, you'll sometimes see they'll make an error. Right? Krug calls this a kayak problem. Anybody remember the kayak problem, what that means in Krug's thing? It's where somebody makes an error and then they immediately correct it and get on the right path, right? You see me make kayak errors all the time in class, right? Where I type the wrong tag or I do something and then I get it sorted out and I get fixed. His advice is not to get too hung up on kayak errors like that. Don't necessarily assume that it's a problem with your interface. We're all fallible human beings. We make mistakes all the time, including in the midst of a usability test, right? Now, if you see each one of your users make the same mistake and have the same problem, then that becomes more reason to look and focus a little bit harder on what it is that the person is doing. Okay? All right. Any questions? I meant to have a short class. I didn't think it would be this short. Yes, Aaron?
And the contract thingy that you want each person to sign, that's just the one that's on the website? Or the
Yeah, let's look at those real quick. Okay, Krug's website. Okay, so which document was it you wanted to know?
Because on your site it says that you have to have each person sign a consent form distributed by you. So is it just the form that says that? Are we
Yeah.
doing that? And do we have to change it at all? Or
Well, yeah, you should have it not say boilerplate organization name, right? In your region or whatever it is. So yeah, use the starter documents, but then modify them, right? So if you've got your fancy team name or something like that, otherwise you could just say IIT, ITMD 362 final project or something like that, or A.
How many people? 3?
Yeah, 3 people for the whole group, okay? We're not recruiting for a religious cult. We don't need to have every single person in the group get 3 people, right? 3 test subjects, all right? Why 3?
because you want one on the tablet, one on the site.
Okay, so at least one of them, yeah, try to have somebody test your project on a mobile device, right? Krug says that you can spot most significant usability problems by testing on 3 people, okay? If I can figure out how to bend time and space, next time I teach this class, we might try to do usability testing as part of Project 2, but I just don't know how to do all of that and not have students hate me worse than they do already, right? Because ideally you would be doing testing all the way along, but it's a lot to manage. Okay, so yeah, these are good starting places, right? It's always good to build on prior work if there's something that's good. The test script, obviously, worth a read, but also worth an edit, especially when it comes to things like your tasks and all of that. You might decide whether you're going to reference the current MyIIT site and that you've redesigned it, and how much you want them to compare that to what is going on in the other site. Because that is one of the problems you're going to run into, especially if you've done anything significantly different, and it seems like a lot of you have. You're going to hear like, well, on my IIT site you do this, or I expected to click here or whatever. So you get a particular interesting set of problems there. People hate change. Even if the thing that they're changing away from completely sucks, they still hate change. Other questions? Oh, Aaron. Yeah.
And it also says to try and include online students. So is that also, like, we should have at least one online student in our testing, or?
Well, if you've got an online student in your group, which I don't think you guys do. Okay, so that's not. I'm more concerned about groups who have an online student to make sure that student isn't left out if for whatever reason she can't come to campus or something like that, that you want to make sure that you're involving your remote colleagues. Okay, that's not a concern for your group. All right.
In the videos and stuff, you want by a Dropbox link, so each person should email you the same?
No, have a group share in Dropbox, right? Does everybody in here use Dropbox or Drive? Same diff, right? And when I talk about a Dropbox share link, what I'm talking about is something like this. Let's see, that's somebody else's thing. All right. If I was making a share link, I could do copy Dropbox link, not share, right? But copy Dropbox link, and what I get from that is something that looks like this, right? All right. And now I need to make sure I remove that. So you can't go back later and type out that long URL. I'm going to have to get rid of it. Okay. Get all my secret things in that directory. So it's just a URL that you send me. I'm really big about URLs. Don't rely on existing systems. You might all want to share the folder in such a way that you can all read and write to it. I just want to share where I can see what's inside of it. Okay, just a URL. You know me, I hate attachments. I hate notifications, right? But give me a URL and I'm really, really happy. Okay. Yes, Ore?
It says here a group author recommendation report.
Yes.
So where do you want us to turn that in? Email?
Well, it's group authored, so I'd recommend you use something like Google Docs so that you can all participate in writing the thing. Okay?
You want us to turn it in?
Turn it in how?
Because number 7 just says, talks about the things we're turning in, while number 6 just says,
Right? Well, 6 is a group authored recommendation report. That's about your site. You say, we tested this thing, here were the problems, these are the things that we would prioritize fixing on our site, right? So that's the report. Number 7 down there is your individual self-critique of your project, right? The same reflection kind of stuff I ask of you of your projects. Okay. How long does the report need to be, right? That's every student's favorite question. Every student hates me because I never put a length on anything. I always like to say it needs to be as long as it needs to be, right? You're identifying your problems, you're reporting on what's going on. Don't make this thing into a 20-page death march, right? Make it long enough so that you can cover the specifics of what you tested and what needs to get fixed, but don't make it terribly long. Professors have a terrible reputation, be like, oh, it must be at least 20 pages or 30 pages, like just pulling a number out of the air. And of course, if you're working in a company and somebody writes a 20 or 30 page long report on something like this, guess how many people are going to actually read it? 0, right? So I would say if you're pushing past 3 pages, you're probably writing too much. Okay? Unless you had a really interesting test. Other questions? Yes, Aaron. You can just speak.
Well, this is for the current project. So I saw on Basecamp you were saying for like the logout, it just has to be like a redirect page. So for our test, can it kind of be like that as well? Because we're doing like ad drop classes, so obviously we're not gonna like have the whole list. So can we just still do like kind of what we did with the login, where we just have like a tester redirect page that
Yeah.
just has like a couple courses that they can do?
Yeah, that's fine. You can do the kind of JavaScript-y thing where I was doing window location replace, or if it makes sense, like with something like a logout button, it's fine to just hard code a link to logout.html or something like, you are now logged out, whatever it is. Yeah. Just prototyping the basic behavior of the interface. We're not worried about actually logging somebody out, right? Destroying session variables and stuff like that. What else? Any other burning questions? Clearer picture on what we're doing for Project 3? Can you visualize it in your head what you're actually being asked to do? Now, Krug says to plan on an hour for each usability test subject. I would say try to get that closer to 30 or 40 minutes tops. Okay, depending on your tests and the complexity. Because let's face it, at this time of year, for fellow IIT students, an hour is a huge time commitment, right? So if you can keep that to 30 minutes or something like that, that would be a good thing. Has anybody tried recruiting subjects yet? Yeah, come on, don't lie to me. You're still finishing Project 2. I know nobody has. Okay, how are you going to do that? Find a buddy that owes you something? Call your friends and ask them? Yeah.
Can we kidnap or request people in the library?
Kidnap people from the library. That's an innovative approach.
I mean, they're already in the study room. Just go in there, lock the door, and be like, you should.
Oh, okay. Just commandeer the study room. Nice. I like that. Yeah. Right? Okay. Anything else I can answer for you, do for you? Otherwise, I'm about to peace out right now.
Oh.
Yeah.
There was one other question on the Basecamp about the table tag. Are we not
Yes.
allowed to use that, or we?
It depends on what you mean. Of course, you can use any tag in the language. The question is, what are you using it for, right? If you're using the table tag to do layout, no, don't do that. If you're using the table tag because you have a table of data, then yeah, maybe that's better. I mean, for example, and I'm not just doing this to plug my Rails course again, but look at this pretty little, what most people would say, right? Does that not look like a table to you? Nice cells, nice rows, okay? That is actually one single ordered list that opens with the titles of the books, and then there's a paragraph where I have some commentary on it. The layout for this, Flexbox. I love Flexbox so much. So again, don't use the table tag unless semantically what you're presenting is a table. This is not a table. This is stuff I'm laying out in a tabular kind of format. Okay? Partially because tables, to design tables responsively is a huge pain in the neck. There's a few different ways to go about doing it. None of them are good. But again, if we're using something that's not got the semantic overload of a table, right, this collapses to this, right? It looks like a list. It even has bullets. I made the decision that when it gets to a certain size, right, where I can go into this layout, I get rid of the bullets because it doesn't make sense to have a bullet point next to that thing because it doesn't look like a bulleted list anymore. It's just book in one typeface, blurb in another typeface. Okay? All right. So it's tables for layout that's the problem.
We used it for, we had like, so you could view your schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Just use the table and put like the schedule information in.
Sure.
So would that be?
Again, how's it looking on a mobile device? Okay, so Ori's being honest and saying terrible. Yeah, I mean, because the problem is that when you have a table, you know, regardless of what size it is, you've got the expectations of rows and columns, right? And it's really hard to get that thing to break up. So the question becomes, is there some other kind of semantic way that you can do something like, you know my favorite tag in the world. If I don't know what to mark something up as, I'll mark it up as a list, right? And what else is a class schedule but a list of classes, right? And I might do something like, you know, let's put the name of the class in a H3 tag, and maybe there's a small tag in there that has, you know, ITMD 362, small, and then we can just do the title out here, you know, HCI, H3, and then we can do a nested list, right? Here's our details, you know, and then we can do, you know, the bold tag with room. And again, there's so many like unnecessary labels in a class schedule. Do you really need a label that says time? If you see something that says like 10:30 to 11:25, do you really need a label that says what time that is or what day that is, right? Because that's the other reason that people love tables, is that you can do headings and things like that. But how much of that stuff is self-explanatory and how much of it is just noise? And again, if you're on your phone, you're a freshman on campus, you don't know where you're going, how do you want your class schedule displayed on a phone? I mean, again, I'm asking this rhetorically. I don't expect somebody to shoot their hand up like, well, what you would like is to have this, this, this. I want you to think about that, right? And figure out, you know, what information do you have? Like, how is, you know, most course schedules, the schedule is what's listed for you, right? Here's a list of your classes and here's the days that they are. Well, what would it look like to have a schedule that said, Monday, here's your schedule, and Tuesday, here's your schedule, and Wednesday, here's your schedule? It might not work, but it might be worth exploring that, right? Or having another view that allows you to see, here's your complete schedule, and here's a day-by-day thing, so that on Monday, you as a brand new student know exactly where you're going. And then souping it up with like HCal, the micro format, so that somebody could import their schedule right into their Google Calendar. How cool would that be? Right? Other questions, comments? Yes, Zach.
So in Git, when it's showing you changes that were made, there's a character that's a circumflex and an M.
Circumflex and M? Yeah.
Is that a lack of a Unix style line ending, or exists?
I think so, yeah. It's looking for, there's no, that it's probably giving you that because there's not an end of line at the end of the file.
Is there any way we can, like, is there something I can replace, like, look for \r?
Possibly. Yeah, drop me an email about it. I'd have to do some investigation, and I don't want to just try to wing it off the top of my head and steer you wrong. Anything else? Yes, Aaron.
So for branches, we were trying to use them more, and I'm just a little confused on this. So when you do a branch and then you push it to your repository and then you merge it and everything,
Mhm.
and then you pull the origin, are you supposed to go into the branch you were working on and then pull the group origin so it fixes it, or are you supposed to go to your back to your master? Or
I mean, there's a couple of different ways that you can do it, right? You should always, the one thing that I can tell you is always true is that master should always be wherever your group's master branch should be. Okay? Now, if you created a branch at this commit, right? And so you've got, so there's your commit, here's your feature commit, right, where you fixed something. If there's been a commit since you added this feature, you might want to do, so if this is, I don't know, feet, if that's the branch we're on, you might want to do git, first you would do git checkout master, then you do git pull master to make sure that your master branch is up to date. Okay? And then assuming you haven't put any pull requests or anything in, you might want to check out, which I'm abbreviating CO, git checkout feet, and then you can do git rebase master. And what that will do is it will take your feature commits that you've made and replay them on top of the latest commit from master. So you get a cleaner branch, and then when you do the pull request, you won't run into as many conflicts with existing work on there. Okay? That's my favorite way to do it. There's other ways to do it. There's other arguments to do things different ways. But doing a rebase of master right before you do your pull request is usually the best option. Okay. Now, if you've already pushed feature to your personal GitHub repository on GitHub, once you rebase, these commits will get new numbers, and so you have to do a git push f origin feat so that you do a force push so it overwrites the commits that are there. That's the one trick when you rebase something, is that you actually change the hash numbers with the commits. Okay.
you said you do the rebase on master, right?
Well, first you check out master, and then you pull from your group on master. Then you check out your feature branch, and then you call the rebase master on your feature branch. Okay. And what that gives the illusion to in Git is that all of the work that has continued on master while you've been working is now integrated with your commits that you're making on your feature. So it looks cleaner in your history, generally speaking. Okay.
So you're doing a group master or your origin master?
Oh, you would git pull group master, right? So that you're getting the latest master from group, and then you want to rebase your feature branch on the latest and greatest from your group's master. Yeah. Anything else? Okay. Go out, enjoy the sunshine. Good luck finishing up project 2. And I will see you Wednesday. All right? Okay. Ah. Hey, Matt.